Welcome to Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant podcast. These are the stories of those who have received, given, and who are waiting for the gift of life, organ transplantation. Now here's your host and heart and kidney recipient, BJ Odom.
Welcome to the Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast, a place where we journey through the incredible world of organ transplantation. I'm your host, BJ Odom. Each week we uncover inspiring stories and we meet extraordinary individuals who are connected to the world of transplants. Remember to support us by leaving that 5-star review and subscribing on your preferred podcast platform. And don't forget to join us on Facebook, Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. And if you have a story you'd like to share, we would love to hear from you. Just send us an email, giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that's giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. On this, episode 27, we talk with Tamara Porterfield, who is 2 years out from her kidney transplant, receiving the gift of life from her daughter. We learn the concerns and the joys of receiving a kidney from your own child. We also touch on the importance of organ donation from the minority communities. Let us say good morning to Tamara, and if you can, tell us a little bit about yourself as we start things out.
Good morning. I am Tamara. I am here in the Midwest. I am a kidney recipient. I have been raised in the Midwest. I have traveled throughout the country, but came back here since this is where my family is. Raised here in Illinois most of my life, and I have 3 beautiful daughters, 3 beautiful grandsons, and I work full time. I'm also a wedding officiant part-time, so I do like wedding ceremonies, elopements, things of that nature. I'm just a hopeless romantic, so I do enjoy doing that quite a bit. And just a zest for life and being happy, and I just love enjoying life and creating memories.
Oh, cool. Well, you know what? I'm kind of excited today because I'm originally from Indiana, but I've been living in Florida for the past 40 years. So I have a lot of Florida connections, and you're my first Midwesterner on the podcast. So congratulations.
Yay! That's great.
I guess I can start out by saying, is it starting to get cold up there yet?
Yes, it is. It is. It's getting cold. And as you know, being from the Midwest, it's getting to the point now where it's fall. It's beautiful, of course, with the leaves and all. But it's at the point where in the morning you want to turn the heat on, but then in the afternoon, maybe the air. So I'm sure you know how that is.
And of course, here in Florida, we're still at the point where we wake up and the air is already on because it's been on probably during the night too.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
Here's what I think is interesting about your story. And I've told you before we did the podcast, I had a heart transplant in 2003 and then a kidney in 2015. And like you, I was out, looking for a donor, and my son, wanted to go out and, get tested, and he did. Unfortunately, he wasn't a match, but I said, wow, do I really want my son to do this? And I know it's perfectly safe, and they do it all the time, because your donor is actually your daughter, right?
Yes, my donor is my daughter. She was 23 at the time. She's 26 now. And like you, I was scared. My daughter was not a match for me. We actually did the paired exchange. And for those who do not know what a paired exchange is, because I actually did not know what it was. What that is sort of a kidney swap. So it's when you have the living donor, which is myself, was incompatible with my recipient, my daughter. And it could be a number of reasons. in my case, it was that I'm a highly sensitive person. So we needed a kidney that would match that. So in our case, what we did is her kidney went to a donor that she would be compatible with. And in turn, I automatically get sort of a jump ahead of the line list on the list. And I am guaranteed a kidney within a year that matches me. So that's how that worked. And she got her surgery, and a year later, I got mine. But it was very hard to watch her go in and have that surgery, because when she had her surgery, it was still under the COVID guidelines. She had it in 2021, so it was still the restrictions where I couldn't go in with her. So I kind of had to, leave her at the door entering the hospital,
Oh,
which was, it was
wow.
difficult. But I put on a game face because I didn't want, her to be nervous. But it was hard. It was hard because I was just kind of like, at first I was like, well, wait, I mean, are we sure we want to do, you just, like you said, they do it all the time, but it's just that fear because it's your baby.
Yeah, I 100%, I never was in that experience, but I know that I can feel your pain, because it's just like, when your kids are sick, for some reason, you feel like you're 10 times sicker, and you're going, oh, if I could,
Yes.
just take that away from them. But that had to be scary during COVID times, and not even, being able to, wish her good luck as she gets rolled down into the operating room, and when
Yes.
she opens those.
Yeah, that was hard. That was difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine that. And also quite brave of her to do that even during those times. I think I would have said, well, let's wait till this, but I know how much she must have loved you, and she wanted to give this gift so that she knew down the road that you would be receiving a kidney. And I think that is an amazing program. And for people maybe that are out there looking for a kidney, or someone who, knows someone that is, this is a great program. Like you said, what it is, she donated her kidney, and that kind of like put one in the bank for you. And as soon as one became available for you, then you were granted that kidney. So it's a wonderful program. And it's kind of cool too that your daughter was the hero.
Yes, she is my hero. She really is. And that is great. And like I said, BJ, I had no knowledge of a paired exchange program until we went through this process. So it's great that you have this podcast, just to put the information out there, like, hey, it doesn't have to be necessarily, a lot of folks think, oh, it has to be a DNA match or a relative or something. There's so many factors that go into, the donor and the recipient. So it doesn't always have to be, a relative. It could be anyone. So there's so many factors that come into play.
I've got a couple of friends, and, they've had some blood transfusions along the way and some pregnancies and things like that. And their antibodies have went in millions of different directions, and they are both having some major problems finding, kidneys. And I believe one of the friends actually has done that program, and they're still trying to find that match for her, because there's the antibodies are just so scattered that it's hard to do. But now they're doing some studies about trying to, find ways around that, and some treatment that'll help you through. But it's an amazing story there. And how long was your daughter? Because you couldn't visit her probably when she was in the hospital. How long was she in the hospital for her part of the surgery?
I was actually able to visit her. She was in there it was probably a few days, I believe. I don't think it was any more than about 3 or 4 days. It was not long. I was able to visit her just because we could have like one person up there, one person come in every 24 hours or something like that. So I was able to sit with her. She recovered nicely. The surgeon kept me in the loop the entire time. So that was comforting.
Now let's turn to you. So it was, about a year later, then you finally, were blessed with them finding you a kidney. Tell us about your experience.
I was nervous, of course, but I was ready, I was ready to go. I was like a cheerleader, and I had my procedure. We actually had our procedures at two different facilities. Since my daughter lives in San Francisco, she had her surgery at University of San Francisco Hospital, UCSF. I live in the Midwest, obviously. So I had my surgery at University of Wisconsin in Madison. Dr. Nicole Neidlinger was my surgeon, who was awesome. She really put me at ease when she came in to talk to us before the surgery. And I was ready and raring to go. So it was almost a scared excitement.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because I remember when I got my heart, especially because I was in pretty bad shape before I got the transplant. And when I got the word, I was almost giddy, like, oh, I got it, hey, it's coming in, it's like getting, your first date or something.
Yes.
I was all excited. My wife was going, oh, okay. So it's kind of funny when you're the person receiving, you get a little bit more excited, but they're scary surgeries. And so, being my wife was very, very nervous and afraid of the whole situation. But as soon as they told me, hey, let's go now. I'm ready to go. Let's get this thing going. And
yes.
A lot of people don't understand this too. But what you go on what your thought was first.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, it was approaching, getting close to the year mark. And I thought, oh, it's just, and I knew it was going to happen. It was just, I was kind of sort of down about it. And just like you, when I got that call, she initially was like, how you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm just, just being whole, staying positive, but, just getting a little sort of anxious. And she's like, well, I'm calling to give you good news. And so I was like you said, immediately you're just giddy,
Now,
so you're like, great, I got like 2 weeks to do this and do that, and so it was immediately, just getting things together. And of course, I'm thinking of a million things because, like we said, it's a scared excitement. So I'm thinking of everything that could go right, but I also am thinking of things that may not go right, so I'm making sort of I wrote down sort of arrangements in case something didn't go right, and, just getting my power attorney into place for you just all those things you just want in place for that procedure, and so it was a lot, but I was ready to get it done, and just I wrote down everything so I knew what I wanted to have in place. So regardless of the outcome of the surgery, I wanted everything in place how I wanted it.
And a lot of people don't realize, they go, oh, they have a bad kidney. They need a kidney transplant. The roughest part of it, at least I remember, I mean, it wasn't the worst thing in the world, and I made it through. But now, how long were you on dialysis? And of course, it's almost like a full-time job, and I don't think people realize that, because you have to go to the facility, you have to get hooked up, they have to, you're talking, and then you're usually tired afterwards. How was your experience there?
I never had to do dialysis.
Oh, you didn't?
My kidney, before I got to the point to where my levels were low enough to where it was getting very close. But luckily wasn't quite there yet. And I was able to receive the kidney before even going on any type of dialysis. But I can tell you that I was always very sort of tired and didn't realize it until, once I had the surgery and got that kidney, boy, it was almost like they put a fresh battery pack in me. And I was literally like, oh my gosh, I never realized how tired I was until I received this new gift. So I wake up every day so thankful. And I feel great. feel wonderful. It's been 2 years, and I'm living my best life. I really am.
And I feel like, now I almost lost my train of thought here, but it does. You get that feeling because, you were tired, you were sick, and now all of a sudden, you're back being kind of normal again. And it's a whole new feeling, and it's hard to explain even, because I know even when I, got my heart and my kidney, it was a big turnaround for me.
Yes. Yes, it is. And I'm so grateful and so thankful. And it really just gives you a second look and lease on everything. It's like the colors seem brighter. It's just, music seems different. Like everything just seems, it's like the whole world has opened up for me, I feel like. And I feel like I could just do anything. I really do.
Now, obviously, you're close to your children. There's no question about that. But now has that changed your bond between the daughter who donated and yourself? I mean, do you feel like there's that special connection now? And I know, because I'm a parent too.
I feel like
I'm a parent too, and it's hard to say, well, I love one more than the other. But I'm thinking, I'm not trying to put you on the spot either, but I'm thinking there has to be this special bond now between the two of you, now that you went through this experience together.
Yes. I mean, there is a bit of a difference there. I feel like I'm more sort of, being a mother, you're protective anyway, but I feel like I'm more protective. I worry about her a little bit more just because, she has one kidney, and which she's perfectly fine. But, she's very active in her life. She's in California, so she goes hiking. She does surfing. She does all types of things. It has not slowed her down. But, she is an educator, so she caught COVID, and I was scared. I was just like, oh my God, you just think of, I feel like I don't want to coddle her, but I feel like I kind of have to. And when you do get the chance to speak with her, you'll see she's not one for coddling, but she'll. In that sense, I do, I just do still kind of, feel a little just like, I worry about her, but not worry, but I'm just like, oh, be careful, type of thing.
Well, one good thing she has in her favor is that at least when you get a transplant, because obviously you're taking the anti-rejection drugs, which, plays havoc on your immune system. So like, we're afraid if somebody sneezes around us, we're usually running for cover, but,
oh yeah,
but at least that's one thing she has that we don't have. She probably has her full immune system back because she doesn't need to take the anti-rejection drug. So that's going to help her a little bit, but I know how you felt because my daughter is an educator also, and she had COVID a few times, and every time she calls and says, oh, I tested for COVID, I'm going, oh, no, not my baby girl.
Yes. And I have, family members that work in healthcare. So my one daughter's a nurse, and my mom, does the heart ultrasound. So whenever they've been around, or, of course they mask up and take all the precautions anyway, but whenever they know, hey, I've been in a unit where there was COVID or anything, everyone in the family is really good about masks. And, well, I'm not going to be around you for a week or so because I don't know, what's kind of going on. And I don't, so, and even with my grandkids, kids are little petri dishes of germs. So, I'm very good about wearing my mask and just constantly, sanitizing and everything, because I do not want to get sick at all, anything. So I've been very good about that. And, people, sometimes you get the looks, but I don't care. I always say, hey, I'm not losing my life over you fools out here.
Yeah.
So you can look at me all you want.
I remember when COVID first hit, it was kind of funny because I said, I'm doing what they're telling us to do now. I've been doing that for the past, 20 years. It's been not less than that, probably was 17 years or whatever.
Yes.
I said, I've been doing this for the last 17 years, so this is nothing new for me. And you people that have to wear, they're asking you to wear a mask for, a few months or whatever, and you're having these cows. I said, just be lucky, you're not a transplant patient. But yeah, because like people,
Yes.
I'm not wearing a mask, and I'm going, man, it's not going to kill you. Just wear the mask. But oh man, you know how vicious it was out there. People just say,
Oh yeah. And then, I have a lot of people say, you're okay. You don't have to wear your mask. I'm fine. And I'm like, no, I'm good. Like, if I get into an Uber or, you know what I mean? I just like to, always just take precautions.
Well, it was when I got my heart transplant, it was 2003. And of course, we had to stay close to the hospital. So we stayed at a hotel. And I can't remember the disease that was going around at the time. But there was it wasn't COVID, but it was something where
could have been SARS or something.
I think it was, but anybody who had the disease, not everybody else in the world, but when somebody had the disease, they would be wearing a mask. And I remember going to the hotel, and they give you all wear your mask. Very important. You're fresh out of surgery, or your immune system is like down to nothing. You must wear a mask. And when we were in the hotel, people would open the door to the elevator and we'd be standing in there and I'd have my mask on. People would just like, oh, you can go. We don't need to get in the elevator. We'll get the next one. And then my wife finally had a hat made for me. I had a heart transplant. I'm not dangerous. I just have to wear this mask.
Yes. And I honestly kind of still do that today if there's a lot of people. I sometimes like I said, I just don't want to risk anything. And knock on wood, I've been free of anything, and that's the way I want it to stay. I'm just not taking any risks.
What do you think?
If it's a minor, hey, that's just what it is, but it's worth it.
What do you think your biggest takeaway is from this whole experience?
Oh gosh.
Kind of threw a curveball there at you.
Taking care of yourself and not taking your health for granted. I didn't even know how long I had the kidney disease. I was actually diagnosed in 2016. But when I look back, I realized that there were so many signs and symptoms, and the kidney disease was developed as due to my high blood pressure. In the minority community, we are heavily impacted with diabetes, high blood pressure. So those type of things contribute to us needing, a kidney, resulting in the kidney disease. So for a long time, I was, just going to a doctor maybe for a cold or something, maybe urgent care. And they'd say, hey, your blood pressure is really, you might want to get that checked out. Oh, I'll be fine. And a lot of times in the minority community, we tend to, not want to take medication. There's sort of a stigma there that a lot of times we don't trust healthcare professionals. But I have to stress that this is extremely important. And I can't help but think that had I not took care of that at the time, maybe my daughter wouldn't have had to go through this, or myself, So I cannot stress how important it is to take care of your health and get that full workup. Because I got a full panel workup, and the doctor told me, hey, you have proteins in your urine. Let me go ahead and send you to a nephrologist. This doesn't look good. So had I not got that full workup, which I don't know when the last time I had one was prior to that, but just, life gets in the way sometimes. And I was busy working. I was a single parent and just life, but health is wealth. That's what I got.
Yeah, just a few months ago, it was Minority Awareness Month. And it is what I learned myself by doing this podcast. Minorities do have the tendency, one, to maybe not get the best care in some places. I'm not saying all places,
Yes.
but in some locations. And so they are leery of all these things. And, of course, we're not in Awareness Month now, Minority Awareness Month now, but it's interesting to talk to you. What would you say to the minority community about their health and things they should do?
That this is important, and that because we are affected by this, we're 3 times more likely, I believe, to end up with some type of kidney disease, heart disease. It's well known in our community. But Google is your friend. If you don't trust a doctor, you can always, of course, you always want to consult with a physician, but you can always join some kidney groups online or talk with someone who has actually been through the process. In my case, there was a woman who was currently on dialysis, and she gave me all the information and really made me feel at ease before I had the surgery. She told me step by step what was going to happen and what to expect. And that really put me at ease. So I knew. But for all the minorities out there, get your full panel workup, because there are so many things that we don't know in our community, whether it's eating habits that have been traditionally passed down that may not be the healthiest for us, which could be the cause of the heart disease and the high blood pressure and such. And I know a lot of times in those communities, the money may not be there, or they may be in a food desert, or whatever the case may be. But there are small changes that you can make to make yourself get healthier and live a healthier lifestyle, whether that's taking a walk or just cutting out little things at a time. Making small changes will make a huge difference. But the first thing you have to do is get that full panel workup and see where you're at.
Now, I know minorities, too, are on the low end when it comes to donations. Of course, your daughter was amazing for you. What would you like to say maybe to the minority community about organ donation?
It is important. It's necessary that we have more minorities, more minority donation, simply because a lot of folks think that you have to do a lot to donate. You really don't. It's just they take some blood from you. They ask you some questions to make sure, hey, is this what you want to do? My daughter left the hospital with literally 2 little incisions that could be covered with a Band-Aid. I mean, it wasn't like she was, completely cut open or anything like that. And that was it. I mean, her recovery was fine. She was up walking around within a day or 2. I was up walking around that evening. I had my surgery that morning. I was up walking the halls that evening. It's amazing what medicine can do. So please use it.
Another amazing thing, which your daughter probably went through, anytime you become a living donor, and of course that's always covered by usually the person's insurance that is receiving
Yes.
the organ. And what I always say, the cool part about it is, and people have told me that, well, I've decided to, donate my kidney. And while they did, they went through all this testing, one, finding out they couldn't donate the kidney because they had other problems going on they weren't aware of. And also,
Mm-hmm.
it has saved lives because in the process, they found out, oh my gosh, this is going on with me right now. And if I wouldn't have probably, decided to become a donor and went through all this testing, I would have never known. And who knows when I would have finally discovered it, it may have been too late in order. So basically, it saved my life.
Yes.
So those are things
That's,
to think about, folks.
yeah. And there's, and like you said, you're either going to find out something about yourself. Had I known, I've always been a donor, on my driver's license, just because I thought, why not? But I think a lot of people are just afraid, and rightfully so. But it really was a smooth process. And I think a lot of times we build it up in our mind to really kind of scare ourselves, but it was nothing like what I thought it was going to be. I was like, oh, when it was all said and done, I'm like, oh, well, that was it. Like, it was not, of course it's serious because it's a major surgery, but it was so smooth. The staff at USCF and the staff at UW in Madison are wonderful. I mean, this is what they do. And it was amazing. I couldn't say anything bad about it. There was nothing about the either experience, that made it to where we're like, oh, we wish, maybe this was different. No, everything was perfect. Everything went smoothly. We were both discharged sooner than we thought we would be. I mean, it was there was no downside to it at all. It really wasn't.
Now, what is your daughter's name?
Shelby.
Shelby. Well, Shelby, you are your mother's hero for sure. And even from me, I'll say thank you. You did a wonderful thing. So thank you so much, young lady. Now, before we let you go, because I know we've taken up some of your time here, anything you would like to say, maybe I didn't ask or something we didn't discuss that, you'd like for people to know that are listening to the podcast?
I just want folks to know that organ donation is extremely important. You have no idea how just a little something so, just a little, I guess, compassion on a donor's part, a potential donor, how it could really change someone's life and the donor's life. Just the fact that you're giving that gift to someone, I mean, that's an amazing thing. And, go on, for your listeners, go on to, I believe it's organdonor.org or the National Kidney Registry, and just read up on the information, read up on some of the stories of the folks that have been saved by organ donation. And it will really, give you an insight to how, it affects everyone. And I especially encourage anyone in the minority community to really just dig deep and look into it, because it's much, much needed. And I remember seeing a display when I was in UW before the surgery, and I'm sure they have this everywhere. It was the donation wall, and it shows all the list of donors that they have. And it was just a beautiful hallway once you enter that wing of the facility. And then I remember Dr. Neidlinger had put up a display of African-American donors and recipients. And each person had their story. And it was, each person was saying, I was very, skeptic, and I was sort of scared. And this literally changed my life, and it made me cry when I seen it, because I just thought, and it really put me at ease. And I was like, yes, this is the right thing to do. This is what I need to be doing. And it's such a gift. And I am so thankful. I wake up every day, and just the first thing I do is just give thanks. And it's opened up a whole world for me. And I can't thank my daughter more than enough on what she's done for me.
Thank you, Tamara, for sharing your incredible journey with us on Gift of Life. And join us again next week for another touching episode. If you have a transplant story you'd like to share, reach out to us. giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com, or any other comments you may want to pass along to us. Also, follow us on Facebook, Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. And until next time, I'm BJ Odom. Thank you so much for being a part of our journey, reminding us all to appreciate each and every day and to cherish that extraordinary gift of life.